Kyle Larson just dominated at Bristol, and now he's taking aim at NASCAR itself. The Hendrick Motorsports star nearly swept the entire weekend, winning the Cup and Xfinity races while coming in second in trucks. The numbers don't lie. Kyle Larson was unstoppable at Bristol. He led a jaw-dropping 411 of 500 laps in Sunday's Cup Series race, securing his 31st career Cup victory and his third at Bristol. In Saturday's Xfinity race, he led 277 of 300 laps, showcasing his masterful command of the Last Great Colosseum. Larson said this after his Cup win. "Just a flawless race once again here at Bristol for the 5 team. Really, really good car. That was a lot of fun. You know, however many laps of green we ran there was a lot of fun, and I was pretty comfortable with things." Sunday's average speed was an impressive 100.746 miles per hour, making this the fastest Bristol race since the track was converted to concrete. Only Cale Yarborough's April 1977 win at Bristol was quicker over 500 laps. But this wasn't just another win for Larson. This victory came during an emotional weekend for Hendrick Motorsports, which recently lost John Edwards, their director of communications. Larson dedicated his performance to Edwards, whose death was announced last Thursday. After his dominant weekend, Larson appeared on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast on Monday. What he said has ignited controversy throughout NASCAR. "This might come off cocky. I want to embarrass them honestly. I just want to embarrass NASCAR a little bit. They don't let Cup guys run anymore, and the kids probably think they're in a good spot. They don't know where the bar is really at."
In Xfinity, I do get motivated, and this is going to come across like very cocky, but I want to embarrass them, honestly. I want to embarrass NASCAR a little bit because they just don't let Cup guys run anymore. And the kids, they probably think they're in a good spot, and they don't know where the bar is really at. So I like to go run those Xfinity races and just get 10-second leads to let them realize that they've got a lot of room to improve. And I think that's only better for our sport. You know, when those young guys can compete with Cup guys, they're better suited for the Cup Series once they get there. Yes, I want to smash the field when I run Xfinity.
I love that.
That's motivating for me for sure.
Larson openly admitted his goal in Xfinity races is to embarrass both the drivers and NASCAR itself. But why? Larson explained, "So I like to run those Xfinity races and just get 10 seconds leads to let them realize that they got a lot of room to improve. I want to smash the field when I run Xfinity." This is a direct challenge to NASCAR's rules limiting Cup drivers in the lower series. Since 2020, NASCAR has restricted Cup drivers to a maximum of 5 races each in both Xfinity and Truck Series, with many fans calling this the Kyle Busch rule. Before these restrictions, Cup drivers regularly dominated lower-tier races. Kyle Busch frequently ran 15-plus Xfinity races per season, sometimes winning 8 or more races while also competing full-time in Cup. Despite his blunt approach, Larson argues his participation actually helps develop younger drivers. Larson explained, "I think that's only better for our sport. When those young guys can compete with Cup guys, they're better suited for the Cup Series once they get there." Harvick, a former Cup champion himself, agreed with Larson, recalling how when he raced Xfinity, there were 20-plus Cup drivers in the field every week. Harvick described this as a constant evaluation of where you are, which prepared young drivers for potential Cup futures. Is this a case of tough love? Or is Larson crossing a line? Larson's frustration didn't come out of nowhere. At Homestead, Miami, last month, he was dominating the Xfinity race with a massive 15-second lead when disaster struck. With just 8 laps remaining, a caution caused by Taylor Gray led to a restart where Sam Mayer shoved Larson, causing him to lose his lead and finish 4th. That race was part of another triple-header weekend where Larson won the Truck and Cup races but missed out on the sweep because of that Xfinity result. Adding fuel to the fire, the following week saw controversial racing at Martinsville when Sammy Smith crashed into race leader Taylor Gray on the final lap, wrecking multiple cars in his pursuit of victory. This incident sparked outrage about the lack of respect shown by younger drivers. These events clearly shaped Larson's mindset heading into Bristol, where he was determined to make a statement, and he certainly did. Bristol wasn't just about Larson's comments on Xfinity racing. It also featured another chapter in NASCAR's most compelling current rivalry between Larson and Denny Hamlin. Hamlin entered Bristol seeking his third consecutive Cup win after victories at Martinsville and Darlington. Larson prevented the three-peat, and he wasn't shy about celebrating that fact. Larson said this after his win: "If Denny's in front of me, it could be a totally different story and be really hard to pass him, but glad to stop his three-peat. We hate to see him win, as I'm sure you guys do too." He pointed to the crowd, which responded with cheers. This marked the 7th time Larson and Hamlin have finished 1-2 in a Cup race, but the first time with Larson on top. Hamlin fired back on his weekly Actions Detrimental podcast. His post-race comments about keeping me from 3 in a row, and we don't like to see that, and you fans don't either. Now I'm like, piss on your triple, your sweep. I'm glad Chandler Smith beat you in the truck race.
His post-race comments about, keeping me from the 3 in a row, and, we don't like to see that, and you fans don't either. Now I'm like, piss on your triple, your sweep. Like, I'm glad Chandler Smith beat you in the truck race.
I'm happy he said that, though.
Despite the verbal sparring, Hamlin showed respect for Larson's dominant performance. You go to give that team their due, and Kyle his due. Just a dominant performance. It looked like a pretty flawless day for him. It looked pretty easy. It was all I had to try to keep up there. The stats show these two drivers are on a collision course for the 2025 championship. Larson is ranked 2nd and Hamlin 3rd in NASCAR advanced metrics that evaluate drivers on passing, defense, speed, restarts, and pit stops. Larson's comments have reignited a long-standing debate in NASCAR. Should Elite Cup drivers compete in development series? NASCAR implemented restrictions because fans complained about Cup drivers dominating and taking wins from series regulars. But has the pendulum swung too far? Kyle Busch, who has been winless in Cup for over 60 races, recently told The Athletic the schedule of not being able to participate as much in the Xfinity and the Truck Series races. Maybe I'm a creature of habit, and I just like being out there and doing all of that. Busch believes these restrictions have contributed to his performance decline. Since 2020, he's won just 7 Cup races, only 4 in the next-gen car, compared to 2019 when he won 5 races in the Cup Championship. The gap between Xfinity and Cup competition is undeniably wide. Look at Ty Gibbs. He won in his very first Xfinity start and claimed the 2022 Series title with 7 victories. Yet despite competing with Joe Gibbs Racing at the Cup level, he remains winless after nearly 100 Cup starts. Does NASCAR need to reconsider its approach? What do you think? Beyond the controversy, Bristol produced some fascinating racing statistics, only 4 lead changes during the entire 500-lap Cup race, the fewest at Bristol in nearly 43 years. Larson has now led an astounding 872 of the past 1,000 laps across his last 2 Bristol victories. This is in stark contrast to the March 2024 Bristol race won by Hamlin, which featured a track record 54 lead changes. Why such a difference? Drivers pointed to tire performance issues. Hamlin explained, "I thought the number 5 was able to navigate traffic slightly better than I was, and that was a big benefit. On open racetrack, I could run with him and was able to catch him there on the second long stint, but I just couldn't navigate the traffic quite as good as he could."
The 5 was able to navigate traffic slightly better than what I was, and that was a big benefit. And then certainly, I felt like an open racetrack I could run with him and was able to catch him there on the second long stint. But I couldn't navigate the traffic quite as good as he could.
Jeff Gordon, now vice chairman at Hendrick Motorsports, expressed disappointment with Sunday's tire, but acknowledged the challenges. "Goodyear has a tough job. We have a heavy car. We have these high bank tracks, heavy loads, abrasive surfaces. There's just a lot of things that are very difficult for them to make a tire that's durable and perform well."
Goodyear has a tough job. I think this car, we have a heavy car, just stock cars in general. We have these high bank tracks, heavy loads, abrasive surfaces. There's just a lot of things that are very difficult for them to do the things that they do to make a tire that's durable and performs well.
After nearly sweeping 2 triple-header weekends at Homestead and Bristol, what's next for Larson? He currently has no more triple-headers scheduled this season, but hasn't ruled them out for the future. Larson still aims to join Kyle Busch as the only drivers to sweep all 3 National Series in a single weekend, which Busch accomplished at Bristol in both 2010 and 2017. "I'll be selective," Larson said about future attempts. "I have to feel I have a shot to win all 3 and also pick the tracks I enjoy." Those tracks could include Homestead, Bristol, and possibly Kansas Speedway, which hosted all 3 series last September but doesn't have a triple-header scheduled this year.